to go?
All good. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk to Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle C. Baker. And before we get started, be sure to follow and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. I guess I'm struggling today. But also, it is season 4, so I do invite you to have a look at the previous 3 seasons. There may be some episodes there that relate to your reality today. They are timeless, so I do invite you to check them out. And we're going to jump right in. I am really excited about this guest because she has such a wide range of things we could talk about. So we've decided we'll just let the episode go where it needs to be today. But I do have the great Audra Phelps with me. She does some work with post Mormon families or healing, I should say, or faith crisis, but she does have a great range of other work that she does. So I'm going to let her explain and describe what she does. I'm going to put the spotlight on you, Audra. Thank you so much for joining me. I really am excited to have you on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So, yes, I'm currently a coach for moms who have left the LDS or Mormon church and are really struggling with just not quite sure what the next steps are. And, they're in the middle of raising kids and their whole identity and their life choices are now just so big and vast that it can be really overwhelming on how to transition to being a strict, religiously based parent to how do I want my parenting to look now. So
Right.
that's what I'm doing now as a coach. My background is in education. I was a high school biology teacher for many years, and then I moved into school administration in international schools. So after working in public schools in the U.S. for 13 years, we lived overseas in 4 different countries and worked with a lot of different students. And I was a director of an international school most recently. So yeah, I could talk about education, big kids, little kids, all the things, religious trauma, identity work. So let's dive in.
Let's dive in. There's so much that we could go on forever, but I like the idea of going into identity and how to rebuild if ever, because this is what I like about your work is it's transferable to any form of situation that you may go, any kind of huge obstacle or challenge or trauma that happens or detachment even that you could transfer over. So I like the idea of the school, though we could do a separate episode for that, just because it's such a hot topic as well as alternative ways for education for our children. More families are willing to travel as well now. So how do we look into that? So we'll have to we'll have to have you on again. But if we're talking about in your case, it was for faith crisis where you're just pulling away from a very structured, very strict way of life. And before we go on to how do we get the family or the children back into the world, I guess I can say, there is, I see it as grief. You are grieving this life that you had, this family that you had that is going to fall apart, this community that you had that was supporting you that is no longer there. So I guess my first thing is, can you talk to us a little bit about going through that grief, the guilt maybe as well, because now you've upset the family unit, and how to find yourself in all of that as well. It's a big question, but can you walk us through a little bit what that would look like for people that may be going through something similar?
Yeah. So when you leave a high control religion, I mean, I think you described it very well. It's more than just walking away from a belief in God and where you went to church on Sunday. It
Mm,
really is very demanding of who you are, who you're going to be, how you're going to raise your kids. And a lot of that is dictated to you from the time you're a very small child,
mhm,
especially for women. And so, you talk about the faith deconstruction for many women, including myself, that takes many years. For me, that took 10 years to be able to deconstruct and decide I'm done. This is not who I am. But then the reconstruction part
Right.
is this is the part that is incredibly overwhelming because you don't have a model for it. And like you said, you're also big emotions of grief. And it's a
Hmm.
different kind of grief than the grief of the death of a loved one. Because
Yes.
many people, when they leave a high control group like the Mormon church or any other high control group, um, you, you lose family
Yeah.
and you lose your entire community, you lose your social structure. And the community, when you were in the church, was very supportive, and now it's not there. It's just gone. And many people, um, either their family members have completely cut them off, which is devastating, or the relationship is at least fundamentally changed.
Hmm.
So that person might still be in your life, or you're still interacting with this person, or you still see this person on a regular basis. But what you have learned is that there were conditions to your belonging in that family, for being
Hmm.
loved in that family, for being accepted in that family, and you no longer meet those conditions. So you're grieving the loss of family, the loss of loved ones, the loss of community, but then you're also grieving the loss of self.
Yeah.
Because, okay, I don't meet these conditions. I'm no longer, checking all the boxes to belong to this group, but I don't have my own checklist yet of what boxes I want to check, who I want to be, what my values are, what my beliefs are. And so it's a grief of relationships and a grief of self. And
Yeah.
that can be debilitating for a long time. And for some women it's so overwhelming that sometimes it can be easier just to go back,
Yeah.
right? And just to follow what you knew because it was familiar, and maybe it doesn't feel great, but at least it's predictable.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you touched on something so important there. And when I was saying it's transferable, the work that I do mostly now is in unsafe family environments or unsafe homes, and it's the same. It's just um, it sometimes it's just as terrifying to find yourself in all of this because you've lost yourself in this, or you weren't given the freedom to become who you are. Like you said in your cases, it starts from so young, right? That you're just told who you're supposed to be. And now you're sitting there going, now what? But it's not just for you, it's for everybody else that in your family. So yeah, that grief of self, because it's who am I now? And it's so easy to go back into the old pattern. I think I'd like to ask you about that, the reprogramming or
Yeah.
programming it the way that suits you better, because the work that I do is you can deprogram, but if you don't fill the void, then your subconscious mind just goes back to what's familiar. So you will end up going back into old patterns or searching
Mm-hmm.
for relationships, not necessarily intimate relationships, but friendships or business, even business partnerships. You'll fall back into characters that will keep you to not allow you to be yourself. So, how do you work? Let's go with that. What do you find works best in a reprogramming, filling yourself up with good stuff, so that you can then move on to your family and everywhere else.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I find with mothers especially, the primary motivation is their kids.
Hmm.
Their primary motivation is, I want to be the best mom, I want to raise my kids, to be successful. And they're so they kind of put aside this identity work and they focus purely on, how do I be the best mom for my kids? Because there's a lot of mom guilt, a
Hmm.
lot of mom guilt when you start raising your kids in something and then you change your mind, or maybe you feel like you made a mistake and you're pivoting, and what kind of therapy are my kids going to need in 10 or 15 years? That certainly has run through every mom's mind.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I find in the beginning, when women are many women are so unclear of the importance of identity, the
Hmm.
importance of creating their own identity. So in the beginning, it's all about what kind of a mom am I going to be, not what kind of a person am I. So we kind of start from there because that's what's known and that's what their motivator is, right? Um, and then as we go a little bit further, they start to realize, oh, parenting is just a subset of who I am.
Right.
And then they're willing to do some more of the individual work that's centered just around them and not around their children and how to raise kids.
Yeah.
So when we start first and we start talking about parenting and identity work, one of the first things that I tell women to do is, when you're in mom mode and you're working with your kids and something comes up where you start to feel emotionally activated, like, coming from a high demand religion, maybe it's something like your child wants to do something that you were taught was inherently bad,
Right.
right? And your first well-worn pattern that hasn't been reprogrammed yet is like, no, that's wrong. That would make you a bad person if you did that.
Right.
So when you notice that, is like, stop, pause. And this can sometimes be the hardest part, is noticing it, because you're going to be in automatic mode,
Hmm.
right? You're going to
That's right.
you're going to be in automatic mode. You're not going to realize that you're just reacting and you're not choosing a response.
Hmm.
So this takes some work to slow down and have some self-awareness and then go, okay, there are very few decisions in life that have to be made right away. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to dive in. So when you feel that activation, pause. And then when you pause, sit with it for a minute. Even if maybe in that moment you can't sit with it, but you can say, hey, I'll get back to you on this. Hey, can we talk about this in an hour or tomorrow or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then find a time to dive into that emotion and pay attention to where it feels in your body and how it feels in your body, because your
Mm.
subconscious is going to speak to you through your body first. And then start journaling. Journaling, I find to be so helpful all the time, but especially in the beginning, learning how to ask really good questions in a journal and name the emotion. What is the emotion I'm feeling? Usually it's some kind of fear,
Yeah.
fear that you're going to be a bad mom, fear that you're going to do something wrong, fear that your kid's going to do something wrong and it'll be your fault. And it's usually based on some kind of a definition that
Hmm.
was given to you of what a good mom is and what it means to have good kids, right?
Yeah.
So if you can start to go back to, okay, this is the emotion, it's feeling constrictive, which means there's a belief there that's not really aligning with me. But it's
Hmm.
there because it's popping up. So find out what the belief is. What is the belief that's giving you this constrictive feeling? And just, journal about it. What is it I think? Do I think this is going to make me a bad mom? What about this will make me a bad mom? Just really dive into it. And then once you find out what that belief is, that's a conditioned belief, then start poking holes in it, because your subconscious mind thinks that it's an absolute truth and it's always true all of the time. And so it's always looking for evidence of that belief to be confirmed. So start poking holes in it. Like, okay, when did I decide that that was my definition of a good mom?
I
And
like that.
who did I get that belief from? And usually it's from some messaging you got as a child,
Hmm.
right? And then, okay, is this belief always true? Well, no, it's not always true. Okay, then let's think of some evidence, sometimes when it's not true. So as you start to poke holes in it, your subconscious can see that this is not an absolute truth. there are times when it's not true. So your subconscious can actually now start looking for evidence in your experience, in your environment, with your kids, with other families, that this is not always true. So it's going to
Yeah.
start bringing other things to your conscious awareness. And that can actually make you feel a little bit dizzy, to be honest, because you're like really actively rewiring because your brain's now looking for other things.
Yeah.
And then you can go, okay, so if that belief felt constrictive, what what belief do I want to have that feels expansive, that feels like I can take a deep breath? And kind of,
Yeah.
play with it a little bit and find a belief that really makes you feel like endless possibility and that your body feels light. So, that's not something you do just once. That's some real conscious work you've got to do over and over and over again. But that's the beginning. That's the process in a nutshell of like
Yeah.
how to uncover an old belief and then rewire a new belief and now start looking for evidence of that new belief.
It's a very big muscle to work. So
It
yeah,
is.
you got to take it slow, one push up at a time type of
One
thing
push
where
up at I mean, even in the
it,
beginning, if you just notice
yeah,
the activation,
that's
okay,
huge already.
that's enough for now.
Yeah.
That's enough for now. And now I'm aware that there's a belief there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then give it some time, sit with it. And then the next time you feel activated, maybe you're gonna sit with it and start asking questions. Right. This is
Hmm.
not something that can happen in like 5 minutes. Yeah.
I love that. And it's not always going to be perfect from the, once you are aware of it, it's not going to be perfect. And that's what I like about your work too, is you really work on giving yourself grace. And it's,
Yeah.
it's okay. You're going to have moments where you may slip up or it may not turn out the way that you want to. So how do you work with your clients, or what would be your advice or your wisdom to say, let's look at the beauty in the mistakes that we're making. What can we, it's something we don't hear a lot about, seeing the beauty in mistakes. It's quite the opposite usually, but can you walk us through a little bit what that would look like if you catch yourself in a moment where you're not too proud
Yeah.
of how you reacted? How can we
Yeah.
work with that?
Yeah. I love the way you put that, beauty in the mistakes,
Yeah.
because there is beauty in the mistakes. And so you have to reframe it that way, right?
Hmm.
We have all done things that we regret. We have all raised our voices. We have all made decisions that we regretted with our kids. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm such a horrible person. I'm just not good enough. I've destroyed my kids. But in that moment, like own it.
Yeah.
It's okay, own it. Everybody makes mistakes. Talk to your child. Hey, let's do that again. And let's reframe this. Like honestly, what is that teaching your child when they see a mom that's not perfect, a mom that makes mistakes, but a mom that owns up to it and then comes to you and says, "Hey, let's redo that. I would like to apologize. How could we have done that better?" Well, if you have this belief that moms are perfect and never make a mistake, then what are you modeling to your child? You're
Right.
modeling to your child that mistakes are not acceptable, that perfectionism is the only path,
Right.
right? So reframe that a little bit and be like, man, I just set a great example for my kid on how to own up to mistakes and then talk about it and learn from it. That's amazing. So
Yeah.
if you reframe it, like what a great life lesson I just gave my child the experience for. And on the other side of that, when you own up to it and you talk to your child about it, your bond with them just got strengthened like 100-fold. So the other thing I like to tell moms is, okay, when something happens and you're feeling the regret, you're feeling the mom guilt, take a moment and like step out of your body for a minute. So you're kind of separate from yourself. And now see yourself as you would see a friend, right?
Yeah.
What would you tell your friend if your friend was going through that situation? You would tell them to give themselves grace. You would tell them that they are doing the best they can with the resources that they have. You would tell them you can always try again. And for some reason, we have a really hard time giving that same advice and grace to ourselves. But if you can kind of close your eyes and step out of yourself and imagine that you're telling a friend this and that friend is you, then it
Yeah,
feels a lot lighter and a lot more possible.
that is so true. We're so hard on ourselves. We are sometimes we are our worst friend ever.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
so true. Yeah, I see it also as when your child does make mistakes, you usually give them grace, right? You tell them it's
Yeah.
okay, let's clean it up, or it's okay, we'll do this, or let me show you how to do it. So to be able to do it to ourselves is important because it builds your confidence as a parent to say it doesn't matter if I don't show up the way that I expected to show up, I'm still showing up. And then you can transfer that over to your children as well. So it's so important.
Yeah.
I love it that you said that. I really do enjoy the work that you do because like you said, you have such a big background in so many different angles that you're able to kind of bring it back together to the parents' needs. Everybody's needs is different. Everybody sees their reaction in a different way. So what would be your best advice for parents, or to start? Let's say today, I want to be working on this. I want to be a bit more self-aware. I want to. What would be your go-to little thing that they could put in practice today? You did mention the journaling and taking advantage of it, but even if you wanted to show your kids how to do it so they don't have to deal with that when they're grown, what would you say is something simple that they could start doing today that would help them get there?
Yeah. Something I had to learn how to do was to trust myself,
Mm, yeah.
right? I had largely been conditioned to distrust myself. Anytime something didn't quite feel right or I didn't agree with something, I gave my power away to an external authority. And I
Yeah.
would just accept whatever they said as absolute truth and I would bury whatever it was that I was feeling.
Mhm.
And as I started, I was like, what does that mean, trust yourself? What does that mean, listen to yourself? That seemed like such an abstract concept to me.
Yeah.
But now I've been out 11 years. I've been, reconstructing my life and working on identity for a long time. And I would say the biggest tool is to listen to your body because your subconscious mind is where your identity and your beliefs and your values live, right? And your subconscious mind is getting all of the information from all of your senses, and it's too much information for your conscious mind to handle.
Yeah.
So, but your subconscious has everything. And your conscious mind only has what your subconscious mind lets you see based on the stories you're telling yourself and the evidence that you're looking for based on beliefs. But when you start to notice how things feel in your body, when you notice, like I mentioned before, like a constriction, right? That's your subconscious mind talking to you at the
Mhm.
identity and belief level through your body before your conscious mind has a chance to talk you out of it. But that can be a really hard thing to do because if you're out of practice. So I say
Yeah.
start really small. You know, there was a time in my early 40s, so not that long ago. But there was a time in my early 40s where I was making Thanksgiving dinner and I found myself really resentful in the kitchen because I was still living up to this perfectionism mindset that everything had to be perfect and everyone had to have what they wanted. And I was making apple pie and I was like, why am I making apple pie? I don't even like apple pie.
Right.
And then I was like, well, I'm making it because it's my husband's favorite. Okay, but he's never actually asked me to make it. I just felt like that was what I had to do to be a good wife and a good mom is just I provide everybody's wants before they even know their own, right?
Right. Right.
And then I stood there in the kitchen. I was like, well, dang it, I'm gonna make my favorite kind of pie. And then my mind was blank. I was like, I don't even know
Yeah.
what my favorite kind of pie is. So, when you start talking about identity work and tune into your body with what you want, that can be a really daunting thing for women and moms who have been giving themselves to their children for so long that they don't even know what kind of pie they like. You know, you ask them what they want for dinner at a restaurant and they'll say, I don't know, what are you having?
Yes. That's exactly what I was thinking about when you were saying that, because that's something I've been through it. I've had picky eaters and very odd things I don't eat because of this, this, and this. That at this, I just was like, "Okay, let's just go eat wherever it's easier for everybody." And then when I got out of that, it was just like, well, let's go out for dinner. Okay, where do you want to go? I didn't even know what my
You don't
favorite
know.
restaurant was anymore. I didn't even, yeah, it,
Yeah,
it's, it's a shock when you realize I don't even know what my favorite pie is anymore. I
right?
don't even know what kind of food I like. It's
Yeah,
so straight. It just sneaks up on you like that. And when you
it
step out of
does.
it, that's when you kind of
It
beat yourself up
does.
for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, you want to do identity work and like, have a like, well, but I don't even know what I want for dinner. So how am I supposed to figure out who I am? So I realized that was a long story to get to the point of start small.
Yeah.
Start really small. Like open the fridge and okay, do I want an apple or an orange? Pay honestly, I am not kidding. Pay attention. When I'm thinking about the apple, how do I feel? When I'm thinking about the orange, how do I feel? And you choose the one that feels good.
Yeah.
You have to start super small when you're driving home from work and you have two routes to go. Which one feels like maybe a deeper breath?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take that one. And so honestly, start really small with what feels good in your body, what feels expansive. And then when it comes to parenting decisions and your kids asking you a question, you don't know if you should allow them to do it or not, or you there's something going on at the school and you're having this dilemma on how to handle it with your child.
Hmm.
You already have practice listening to your body. And so you can think about like the two different outcomes and pay attention to how it feels in your body because that's the choice that aligns with you.
Yeah. That's such great advice. Yeah, start small so that when you get into the more complicated stuff that parenting brings along,
Yeah.
you are a bit more confident with the decisions you're going to make. And I like that. That's great, great advice. Thank you so much for sharing. I do have, so I could keep you on for so much longer. There's a whole bunch of other questions that popped up, but I think I'd like to ask, as we've mentioned in the beginning, where sometimes you go back to old habits or you get pulled back in because it's just, how much more do I need to discover about myself? It's exhausting, right? How do you approach that, or how do you see, like, to first notice that you're being drawn back in? Sometimes you could have a little bit of pressure from the outside world. A lot of people have great opinions about your choices and how your new lifestyle or how you're handling things now. How do we see it first? Because sometimes we may not even see that we're being pulled back in, but how do we deal with that if we feel like we're on the verge of just saying, you know what, this is too hard. I don't know if I can keep going like this. What's your take on that?
There's still things that I feel activated by and I have to go, "Oh gosh, okay.
Yeah.
There's some work there I haven't done yet. I need to dive into that." I think I think this kind of work is a lifelong habit. It's not something you just, do like an 8-week program and then you're done. It's you're building
So,
lifelong habits, right? Um, when I start to feel, if I feel activated by a family member or I feel like someone's judging me for a choice that I've made, because there's still some of that people pleasing. You want everyone to like you.
Right.
You want everyone to approve of your choices. Um, that's the time to pause and to pay attention to my emotions, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things that I teach women in the beginning is this emotional scale. So if you have like anger and hopelessness at the bottom, and then you have like peace and joy at the top. When you're down here, something happens and it makes you angry or it makes you feel hopeless or it makes you feel resentful. You can't go from that emotion straight to peace and joy, right?
Right.
There's like
Right.
20 other emotions in the middle.
Right.
So when I have something, because inevitably something's going to trigger me and it's going to make me angry or it's going to
Hmm.
make me feel hurt and pain, that's not a bad emotion. First off,
That's true.
that's information. That's information to me that there's something still to work on there. And my goal is not to jump to peace. My goal is to sit with it, to feel it, to find out, maybe is there something I need to learn here? Is there a reframing I can do to make it feel
Hmm.
just a little bit better? If I can go from anger to frustration, that's a win. That's a huge win,
Yeah.
you know? And maybe it's someone made some comment about, your child misbehaving, or, a parent, in my case with the people I work with, a parent sends a scriptural text to you that makes you feel
Mm.
triggered because you've just, left this religion. And at first the thought is anger and, can't they just
Yeah.
accept me for who I am? Can't they just accept my choices? And can I just belong just because? Why do I have to meet these conditions? And so all those thoughts are going through at first. And a reframe. Okay, like I don't need to get from anger to joy, but I can get from anger to frustration. So what's a feeling that's going to move, or what's a reframe that's going to get me up one step? Well, yeah, it could be true that they sent that because they're being really judgmental, but it could also be true that, however misguided, maybe the intention was to just reach out and connect,
Oh yeah. That's a good way to
right?
look at it. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I can choose, because you don't know what's going on in other people's minds, but I can choose to believe that. And it's frustrating because it's not the way I want them to reach out, but I'm
Yeah.
not angry about it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really just about paying attention to those times when you feel activated, and then being willing to sit with it and go, what what is it I'm feeling in this moment? Why am I feeling this way? And is there another way to look at this that's going to feel just one step better?
I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good to hear. Because that really is what it usually it's. Yeah, you're activated and you're all you're stuck in that. So I
Yeah.
really like that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that. I could keep you on forever, but if anybody want to know more about the work that you do or want to see, what else that they can work with, what's the best, or do you have anything coming up, or where could you refer them to for them to be able to see more of your work?
Yeah. So the best starting place is my website.
Mhm.
It's mamaudra.com. So MAMAAUDRA. And on there, there's a free masterclass for, it's titled The 5 Shifts That Every Former Mormon Mom Needs to Make.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's kind of the first step for I have an 8-week program called Reclaimed. That's a group coaching program and a one-on-one coaching program with a curriculum. Um, but I also recognize that an intense 8-week program is not the best fit always for busy moms.
Right.
So if you go to the website, you can also look into one-on-one coaching on your own time, on your own schedule, and we can just work together privately.
I love that. Sometimes it's just the support that you need from somebody that can walk you through. When we're in it, we don't really see it, but having somebody who can reassure you. in
Yeah.
the decisions that you have to make. I think that's great. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I will add all of that information in the description box so people can refer to it again. Is there anything that you would like to add, or you like to maybe I might have missed that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up? I'm going to put you on the spot with that one.
I think just, being a mom is can be really lonely.
Yeah,
It can be really lonely because you're the only one that knows your kids. You're the only one in your household. And
yeah,
sometimes those big feelings of mom guilt can be really debilitating and a little scary to share with other people.
yeah,
So I would just say you're definitely not alone. Those feelings that you're feeling, I can guarantee you every other mom has felt them at some point. So
yeah.
find a safe person, a family member, a friend, or maybe a coach, and reach out because there is a community of moms who get it and you can share openly.
That is a game changer once you realize you're not the only one going through it.
Yeah.
It does make it lighter in your body. You're just like, oh my God, this is normal, And then sometimes it's just nice to be able to share without being judged or without looking to fix any problems, just to say it out loud and say, this is a lot,
Yeah.
and have somebody who can relate or hold that space for you. I think that's great. Thank you so much. I do ask this one question. I'm pretty sure I told you about it at the end. I ask all of my guests this question. I promised a little girl I would do that. My question is, what would you like to be when you grow up?
I'm so glad you asked me this because actually just last night I went through this whole like visualization of like, if I could dream really big, what would it be? And I pictured myself being this amazingly cute old lady in southern France, like
Oh,
going to the marché en plein air, like the open air markets, and buying my produce and having a really good glass of wine and speaking fluent French with a baguette and some cheese. Like
love it.
that sounds like a dream life for me. So when I grow up, I want to be this awesome French lady in the south of France eating amazing food in the sun.
Love it. Oh, that's the life. I'm joining you on that one. Definitely. Yeah. Oh, I love it. You had me at baguette and cheese. It's the French in me had to come out for that one. So, that's what I love about asking that questions for adults. I don't ask children that. I find it's limiting for kids, but for adults, it's so important for us to realize we're still growing, we're still evolving, and
Yeah.
we're allowed to dream bigger than just what is required from us. So I think thank you so much for playing along. This is great.
You're
That is
welcome.
such a great vision. We're doing it.
Okay, good. I'll see you there.
Absolutely. Actually, I'd seen on a site once there was these chateaus for sale in France, and it was really cheap too, but like in the country type. Yeah, look it up. It's worth. I was dreaming. There's like fireplaces in every room, and
What?
like land, and it's near the lavender fields and the sunflower fields and in the wine country. Yeah. Who
Oh
can
my gosh, I'm Googling this right now. I
Google it?
love it.
All these old-fashioned chateaus. It's all brick. It's all that's amazing. I'm sure there's a lot of fixing to do, but oh man, I would do it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's great, especially for my listeners to just to hear it. And you have such a soothing voice, and you have such a gentle approach to it that I think it's great. We do need it because we're so hard on ourselves sometimes. We're so like, that to
Hmm.
have this. It's okay. We got this. I
Yeah,
love your approach. So thank you again. And we'll definitely have you on again for education side of things.
great.
We'll set that up for another time. But thank you again for sharing all of that information. And I took some notes. I love your approach. So thank you.
Great. Thanks for having me.
And for everybody listening and watching, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. Don't forget to go check out Audra's website as well to see what maybe she can help you with some of the things that you're going through. And until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll talk soon.